The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
As the latest international break reaches its midpoint, football fans everywhere can look back on what is almost a completed first quarter of the season. Enough games have been played for certain features of the club's performances to boast of consistencies that might be deemed patterns. One pattern belonging to Pompey that stood out from last season was the contrast between performances at Fratton Park and performances on the road. The pattern which appears to be emerging for Pompey this season suggests that Pompey may appear to opposing clubs to be harbouring an interesting paradox. Pompey's season so far has seen them win 3, draw 3 and lose 3, statistics which have a certain consistency about them. But if one drills a little deeper, a fascinating curiosity arises. 2 of Pompey's 3 losses have been to teams in the relegation zone, Sheffield Wednesday and Norwich. 2 of Pompey's wins and 1 of our respectable draws have come against teams in playoff positions. The creditable draw was against West Brom, lying 7th, and the 2 wins were Preston, 1-0 who lie 4th, and Middlesbrough, also 1-0 who lie 2nd. Experts will associate this paradox with the enhanced determination that teams in all sports garner from being labelled the underdog. For Pompey's season to begin to flourish, it will be necessary for them to see themselves as underdogs going into every game, no matter how lowly the opposition. The so-called Pompey paradox will be tested again in our next match, the evening kickoff against Leicester, who currently lie 3rd.
This is worth unpacking, isn't it? People have been unable to explain fully, to their own satisfaction, why we went so badly wrong against Sheffield Wednesday, having got such a good result and a good performance up the road. But it's possible, isn't it, that we felt that we were entitled to beat them. And maybe that got to the players who also thought that we were going to win. So might as well kind of leave it to somebody else to score the goals and somebody else to prevent them scoring. And that doesn't work. In football, you've got to be 100% all the time. I dare I say, in the Championship, 110% of the time. So playing Leicester, of course, if you look at the stats, the consistencies, the pattern, if you like, against Leicester, we're more likely to get a result than we would be if we were going to Sheffield United. Now, if we can turn this round, and if we can harness this Pompey paradox to our advantage, it could be a very interesting and possibly very successful season. If we can take on and beat these clubs who are in the promotion positions, then we're up there with them, provided we're playing to 100 or even better still 110%. Very interesting little set of statistics right there. Steve Bone is a leading light amongst the South Coast's sports journalists, and every week he brings Pompey Sound his views and his insight and his wit and wisdom. We package it together as a podcast, and on this occasion one of the questions I asked him is, here we are in an international break, about a quarter of the season has gone. How do you rate Pompey so far?
Well, I think it's gone pretty much as a lot of people would have expected it, really. We finished 16th last season, and most people at that point, at the end of last season, thought, right, that's good. We've stayed up with a bit to spare, something to build on. We should be aiming to be better than 16th next year. I think my summer prediction to you was that we might finish somewhere about 11th or so if we got lucky. 11th to 14th would suit. I was a bit over optimistic last year and said 9th, and that wasn't ever likely going to happen, really. And I think so far 9 games in, we've won 3, drawn 3, lost 3, haven't we? We've had a couple of real disappointments. Sheffield Wednesday being the obvious one, and Watford to an extent. The way we lost our way in that game was another disappointment. But we've had some, you look at the 4 results that are outstanding for me so far are the home wins against Preston and Middlesbrough and the draws at West Brom and Southampton. I think that you look at those 4 results among a set of 9 games, if we're capable of that, then we're capable of repeating that sort of form for the rest of the season, and if we can, we'll be comfortably mid-table. We might even be able to look up and think about a top half finish. I don't think we're ever going to have the consistency that, or not this season, I want to say not ever, I mean this season, I don't think we're going to have the consistency you need to make a serious go for a top 6 finish. You need to be quite good. You can't afford to lose 3 out of every 9 if you're going to finish in the top 6.
And you can hear the whole of Steve's current podcast by going to Pompey Sound Podcasts, and it's the one entitled Steve Savours the Season. Well worth a listen. And John Messino's been giving his thoughts on the reason why there seem to be so many more injuries in football than there used to be, right across the board, and certainly here at Pompey.
You look at someone like Connor Shaughnessy, who had been out with a hamstring injury last season. He returned towards the back end of the year, had a full pre-season with us and no issues whatsoever. He then played every minute of every league game in the build-up to Sheffield Wednesday. Then he has to be substituted 5 minutes after half-time. He had sprinted, wasn't really at full tilt, while we've had a full week's rest before that, and he's gone down with a torn hamstring. Everything was pointing in the right direction for Shocks. It's one of those where you think there's not a huge amount you can do other than rue your bad luck. I think we will see a few more of those this season, hopefully not for us. The physical demands on players are much more significant than 5 years ago. This is probably going to be part of the game as we go forward. You look at the level of physicality and the level of athleticism demanded at every level now, hence the need for bigger squads. The fact we are allowed 9 players on the bench with 5 substitutions to be used, that is a reflection of where we are football-wise. While games are much longer than they used to be, the average distance players run has probably gone up 10 to 20% now. You see it with your own eyes on a Saturday how physically good the championship is, and the levels of distance which we need to cover. The levels of sprint distance, high-speed running, it has definitely gone up. It can be prevented. There are always a multitude of factors to any injury. You can attribute injuries to 1,000 different things, which can be a dangerous thing to do as well. We try to mitigate the risk as much as possible, with training load, with monitoring how players live their lives, making sure they are recovering properly, making sure they eat, sleep, drink properly.
John Messino is also of the view that there are a great many reasons why there are more injuries than ever before, and he says that's part of the problem. There are so many contributing factors. Just take one that's easy to quantify, and that is the fact that a game of football now lasts between 5 and 10 minutes longer than it used to. The referee used to blow on 45 minutes for half-time and for full-time. Now there's one minimum of 1, 2, 3 minutes at half-time, and it seems to me a minimum of 3, sometimes 4 or 5, depending on if something has happened, could be 8 minutes added time at the end of the game. So it's now, instead of being a 1.5 hour long game, it's nearly getting on for 1 hour and 3/4. And they're running hard and they're running fast and they're zigzagging all over the pitch, looking for space when we've got the ball, closing them down and pressing them when they've got the ball. It's sprint, stop, sprint, stop, sprint, stop. But there are a couple of other things as well. You talk about the mileage that players cover now. Let's say on a Saturday. I know that's how it used to be. Nowadays it can be any time of the week and any time of the day in the week. But if you take the amount of running that players do on a Saturday that they didn't used to do, what about all the warming up? I guess it must be necessary because it helps prevent injuries. Yeah. I mean, they're out there, aren't they, from about 20 past 2 if it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. And they're running around. They're warming up. They're running around. Sometimes they're sprinting hard. And then after the game, well, to be honest, I'm usually in the bar. Don't know about you. But after the game, players warm down. How do they do that? They run. I don't know if the machines that record how far each player runs when they're out on the pitch are up and running when they're warming up and warming down. But if they are, that must add another mile or 2 to the distance covered by those players on match day. And the medics will tell you that it's necessary to prevent injuries. So that wants looking into, I say, don't you? Players didn't used to warm up. They used to run out onto the pitch. They had 3 or 4 footballs. They'd kick them about amongst each other for 4 or 5 minutes, if that. I don't think I can remember a player actually running during the pre-match 2 or 3 minutes out on the pitch with a couple of knackered footballs between them. That's how it used to be, and they didn't have so many injuries. So that could be just one of many contributing factors to the fact that we need bigger and bigger squads. We need 3 men able to play in every position on the pitch. Obviously, some double up. You get players who can play right back, centre half, centre midfield, almost play attacking right. And you need that kind of cover because of the injuries. Then there's the notion that players are too fit. They are so fit that they are pushing their bodies, and there are certain bits of our bodies that don't benefit from constant use. Muscles do. That's why you get an Arnold Schwarzenegger who built his muscles up so that he looked like that by, as he puts it, rather self-deprecatingly, I pick things up and put them down. Yes, mate. Damn great weights. But there's certain types of bodily tissue that do not grow and strengthen and benefit with exercise and training. And I believe ligaments and tendons are chief amongst those. So there's work to be done between the medics and the coaching staff and those who are employed by Pompey, not just to kick a ball, but to rub 2 brain cells together.